Hello again, everyone. Finishing off Minnesota week with a look at the Minnesota Wild of the NHL. The Wild are my team. That is the team I root for in the NHL. Again, a lot of you have previously watched know I'm Canadian. Would probably expect me to be a fan of a Canadian hockey team, whether it be the Leafs or the Montreal Canadiens. I live about 2 hours from Toronto, so that's probably where people would think I would be a Leafs fan, but I am not. I don't want to put myself through that kind of misery. So I am a Minnesota Wild fan and have been ever since they entered the league. I just like the attitude they have. I like their first head coach. I thought he did good things for the team, and I just always feel like they're a young team that kind of people don't expect to be that great. I think they kind of always fly under the radar until they get to the playoffs. Which right now, they're hopefully going to squeak in, kind of thing. They do have a playoff spot right now, but I never see them kind of being a team that people expect to win the cup or anything like that. They just always seem to kind of fly under the radar, and then they'll be in the playoffs, and hopefully they can make a good run, kind of thing. They were pretty active at the trade deadline, so I'll bring that up first. They picked up Chris Stewart for a second round pick in 2017. They picked up Jared Knight for Zach Phillips. They also picked up defenseman Jordan Leopold for the defenseman Justin Falk and a fifth-round pick in 2015. And then they picked up the forward Sean Bergenheim and a seventh-round pick in 2016 for a third-round pick in 2016. So the nice thing to look at is most of the players they picked up, they gave away draft picks for. The important thing, though, to remember and notice out of all those is they didn't trade away any first-round picks, and they only traded away one second-round pick, but that's not until 2017. So you might not even know the dynamic of the team by then. You might not know who they've picked up in free agency, who they've drafted in the 2 years prior to that. So, it's hard to see what's a second-round pick going to turn into. Well, it's 3 years from now. So hopefully by then you're not in a rebuilding stage and you don't need a lot of high first and second-round draft picks, kind of thing. And it's not a big deal giving up a pick like that. I think their biggest trade, which didn't occur at the trade deadline, though, way back on January 14th, is when they picked up goalie Devan Dubnyk for a third-round pick in 2015. But I think the third-round pick is a steal for how he's been playing for the team. He's got a 21-5-1 record with a .939 save percentage and a 1.67 goals against average. So that's amazing, and I think that's why the Wild are being so successful and why they've been doing so well lately. I think since the All-Star break, they are arguably the best team in the NHL. Again, a little biased being a Minnesota Wild fan, but I think when you put the stats up, when you put the way they've been performing, I don't think I'm biased. Like I said, I am biased to saying that, but I don't think I'm wrong with saying that. I think they have been performing very well and have been finding ways to win, and that's the important thing to do when you're on the bubble to make the playoffs. Is you want to make sure you have a good, strong end of your season, and I think they'll do that. They do play Washington tonight, so hopefully they can get a win to finish off the week, kind of thing, and go into the weekend with a nice big win over Washington. That would be great. Looking at the two players they picked up, Bergenheim's got 9 goals and 10 assists this season, and Chris Stewart's got 13 goals and 17 assists. So that's also carried over from their previous teams as well. But that's good. That's awesome for them to be contributing to the team and making an impact. That's what you want to do with guys you bring in at the trade deadline, especially when you're trying to make a playoff push. The Wild are currently 4th in the Central with 85 points. The Hawks have 90, so that's how close they are to being in the top 4 in the Central. Like I said, they do have a wild card spot by 4 points, kind of thing. So they got two wins essentially up on the next team that could try to sneak in and get a wild card spot. Not saying that means that they can, if they lose this game, it's not a big deal. Every game is important for the rest of the season, I would say. Every game of every season is important. I think if you want to have a winning mentality, that's how you have to look at it, is every game is a must-win situation, and the playoffs start now. And I think that's how Minnesota has been approaching the season, how they're going to approach the rest of the season. And I think that they got a good young core that's going to be able to continue to grow and develop. All the players I'm going to mention now are all players that have been drafted in 2010 or after 2010. So first, Charlie Cowell, who was drafted late in the first round in 2010 by San Jose. He's got a 10-goal, 21-assist season so far. So, 30-plus point guy. He could have 40-plus points by the end of the year. So that's fantastic there. Michael Granlund, who was drafted 9th overall in 2010 by the Wild. So nice to see that he's kind of developed and turned into a great player for them. He's got a 7-goal and 23 assist season, so he's already at 30 points. Hopefully he'll get 10 goals, 30 assists kind of season from him. Would be great to have a 40-point season from him. Nino Niederreiter, another first-round draft pick. He was drafted by the Islanders back in 2010, 5th overall. So you have 3 guys back in 2010 that were drafted in the first round, 2 of which were top 10 picks on your roster, and they're blossoming and playing great. Niederreiter's got 22 goals, 13 assists, so there's some 35 points right there. He could, if he has a great end of the season, he could be a 50-point guy. I think he'll consistently be a 25-plus goal scorer for the team for the next amount of years, as long as he stays on the team, so hopefully he stays for a while. Because I think he's going to continue to grow and develop and could potentially be like the captain someday, I think, of the team. I think that's the kind of player he is, and could turn into for sure. Jason Zucker was also drafted in 2010 in the second round. He's taken a little more time to develop, but he's got an 18-goal and 5-assist season. So he hopefully can have another 30-point season kind of thing. All these guys have the potential and the opportunities to be 30-plus point guys, and I think they'll do that for sure. Jonas Brodin was the first-round pick, 10th overall in 2011, and Brodin this year as a defenseman, I don't have his stats down, but a defenseman, it's kind of, a defenseman you don't necessarily need to judge on how many goals and assists they're producing. If they're keeping the opposing offense from scoring, then as a defenseman, that's great. Most teams have 6 or 7 defensemen on the roster, and you're going to have 1 or 2 that are scoring defensemen that you're going to put in on the power play and that kind of stuff. But you don't need to have all your defensemen being big scorers kind of thing. So I think Jonas Brodin is doing his role well. He's still on the team, drafted 10th overall back in 2011. So he's doing what he needs to do as a defenseman. Also, Matt Dumba is another defenseman. He was the 7th overall pick in the 2012 draft. Again, I don't have how many goals and assists he had this season, but again, that's not necessarily a stat you always need to look at with defensemen. So some defensemen, like I said, are offensive defensemen, and you're going to expect them to have 25, 30 assist season kind of things and be in on the plays on the offensive side of the puck. But your defensemen are guys that are meant to help out your goalie and make sure that the other team doesn't score. And I do think that certain goalies' success are dependent on the defense they have in front of them. A goalie's only as good as his defense, I guess is one way you could say that. It's not necessarily 100% true, but I do think that Dumba and Brodin are young guys that have helped make Dubnyk's job easier. I would say I don't think you're going to have a goalie who has a 940 save percentage and a GAA under 1.75 kind of thing. You're not going to have a goalie with those kind of stats if you're not having defensemen making sure that he's not having 40 shots against him a night kind of thing, because that's too many shots for a goalie to be facing for sure. You're not going to stop the other team from shooting the puck. That's just not guaranteed not to happen. But if you can keep the opposing team to under 20 shots a night or no more than 25, then your goalie's going to be successful. And if your goalie is only facing 20 shots a night and he doesn't have the kind of stats that Dubnyk has, then you need to find another goalie because your defense is making his job easy. I would say in the NHL, if you're an NHL goalie and you're only seeing 20 shots a night, you have an easy job. I would say it's still important that you block those 20 shots and that you maybe you give up a goal or 2 a night. No goalie is going to have a shutout season every game, but if your defense is making it easy for you by having you only face 20 shots or so a night, then you need to be able to step up and make those plays, which clearly Dubnyk has done. He's got a 21-5-1 record, like I said, with the team, which is fantastic. I think with trading him for a 3rd-round pick this upcoming year, I think that's a steal. I think of those 6 guys that I just mentioned that have been drafted 2010 or after, I think you get a young core that you continue to grow with. Obviously, the big offseason signings that you've had in the past with Zach Parise, who's got a 27-goal, 27-assist season. He's your all-star. He's your go-to guy. He's already got a 54-point season kind of thing, so he could easily have a 30-30 season kind of thing, which is fantastic. Jason Pominville as well, picking him up from the Sabres. Clearly he wasn't going to stay there for that long. The Sabres are clearly developing and rebuilding, and it's nice to get a guy like that. Pominville's got almost a 50-point season right now. He's got 16 goals, 31 assists, so that's 47 points. So he should easily have a 50-plus point season for sure. Thomas Vanek, another nice guy that is now on the roster. He's got 17 goals and 28 assists, so he's got a 45-point season, if I did that math correctly. Yep, 45-point season right now. So he just needs 5 for a 50-plus point season, so that's easily doable. Mikko Koivu, who I think has been the face of the franchise. The nice thing that was kind of neat with the Wild is they did a captain a month kind of thing when they first came into the league. They never had a consistent captain, and I kind of like that because it's nice to give multiple players the opportunity to be the captain on your team, and it shows that leadership doesn't have to just fall on one guy, especially when you got a lot of young kids on your roster. I think it's nice that you have players like Parise and like Koivu and like Pominville and these guys that these younger players can look up to and can look to for leadership and look to for guidance. And I think Koivu's a great person. I think he fits that bill great as, like a permanent captain for the team kind of thing. He's got 10 goals, 31 assists, so he's 9 points away from 50, so those 4 guys could easily all have 50-plus point seasons. Parise already does, and Pominville's only 3 away from 50 points there. I've already previously mentioned Niederreiter, obviously 22 goals, 13 assists. He's got 35 points on the season. A 50-point season could be a bit of a stretch for him with 15 points, but I think it's definitely doable and makeable. It'd be nice for him to have a 30-goal season or more kind of thing, so 8 goals for him to finish off the season would be nice just to have a 30-goal season. Ryan Suter, obviously, great defenseman to pick up. He's got 2 goals and 31 assists, so he's the defenseman that's on the offensive side of the puck for sure. Like I said, I brought up Brodin and Dumba as recent first-round draft picks, but I didn't mention how many goals or assists they have. But when you have guys like Suter, who as your defenseman has 31 assists, clearly he's getting involved in the offensive side of the puck, and you don't need to have all your defensemen doing that. So I think any goals and assists that Brodin and Dumba bring to the team are just kind of gravy. I think it's just a nice little bonus to have for sure. Like I said, Charlie Cowell, he's got 10 goals, 21 assists. So see what happens with him. 19 points to get to 50 points for his season. So that could be a little tricky. See if he could get that far, kind of thing. And there's other players obviously that are important to watch and look out for too, like Marco Scandella and Jason Spurgeon and Kyle Brodziak, and those are all guys as well that chip in with 9 goals, 10 assists, kind of thing. That's where they're all roughly at, those 3 guys as well. So you have your stars in Parise and Pominville and Vanek and Koivu, kind of thing, and then Niederreiter's your young guy that your team's going to continue to grow and build around. Same with Granlund and same with Charlie Cowell. Those are your first-round draft picks back in 2010, so they haven't been in the league that long, but you got 3 first-round draft picks from that draft on your team. And they're all producing, so that's awesome for you. And like I said, being a Minnesota Wild fan, I'm excited for them. I hope they finish the season strong, get a great playoff spot, make a deep playoff run. Thank you again for everyone watching this week on my Minnesota Sports Week talk. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the Houston sports team. So I'm going to go a little further south since no back home right now in Canada. It's March break, so everybody's probably gone down to Florida or some nice warm place. So I'm going to head to a warmer climate, a warmer weather kind of place in Houston next week. So hopefully tune in next week with my talk on Houston sports teams. Thank you again for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at GHAM614, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.